sigma notation. Sigma notation is used to ask us to find a sum. So this symbol right here is sigma. And when you see this symbol, and then you'll see a value below it and above it, that means that we want the sum of the terms from when n is plugged in to be 3 all the way through when n is plugged in to be 13. So that's what this symbol means. It means that we're finding the sum from the 3rd to the 13th term. And this gives us the expression that we have to plug into. So when we're finding a sum of an arithmetic sequence, which is called an arithmetic series, we have this formula. Let's write it down. And it was the sum up to the nth term is equal to the number of terms divided by 2 times the product times the sum of the first and last terms. So let's use that here, but in order to use it here, we need to know these values. We need to know how many terms we're looking at, the first one and the last one. So let's find the first term. A of 1 means that my first term here is going to be when I plug in 3, right? So I'm going to plug a 3 into here, and actually it's not going to be A of 1 this time. My first term this time is going to be A of 3, because it's asking me to start with the third term. So A of 3 is going to be 3 times 3 plus 4, which is 9 plus 4, which is 13. And now let's find A of 13. And the reason I'm finding that one next is because that's the number where I stop. So that's going to be the last one that I add in the series. So now I need to plug in 13. And I'm plugging it right into this expression. So I'll have 3 times 13 plus 4, which is 39 plus 4, which is 43. So now I have the first of the terms that I'm looking at and the last of the terms that I'm looking at. So I know what I'm going to put right here and right here. Now normally n, I would put, if I want the first 13 terms, n would be 13. But n represents the number of terms that I'm adding together. So if I'm adding from the third term to the 13th term, how many terms is that I'm adding together? Well, you might be thinking, well, I'll just do 13 minus 3, so it's 10 terms. But 10 would be the number of spaces in between those terms. So when you subtract these two, in this case 13 minus 3 equals 10, you have to add one more. So our number of terms here is 11. And let me show you that with a simpler example. If I say that I want from the second to the 5th term, well, 5 minus 2 is 3, so you would think, okay, that's 3 terms. But if you actually write it out, it's not, it's 4 terms. So you can take the last and the first and subtract them, and then just think of adding one more, and that will get you n. So in this case, n is 11. So now we have everything we need to plug in to this series notation to find the sum of the series. So n is 11 over 2. My first term is my A3, which is 13, and my last term is A13, which is 43. And that's going to be 11 halves is the same thing as 5 1/2 times, that's 56. So let me grab my handy dandy calculator. 5.5 times 56 is 308. That's my answer. Okay, so this is nothing new. If you're not sure what I'm talking about with this formula right here, please watch the previous video about arithmetic series, because that's where I explain where this formula came from and how to use it. So we're still using the same formula. The only difference is that where the notation is a little bit different. Not the same as what we're used to seeing. Let's try another one. So again, we have sigma, right, which means we're finding the sum from the second term to the 9th term. So we know that our summation formula is the number of terms over 2 times the first term and the last term added together, right? So we need to know all of those values, n, a1, and an. So let's find them. Our first term, in this case, is actually a sub 2, or a of 2. So a sub 2 means that I'm going to plug in 2. So I'll have negative 4 times 2 minus 1. That's going to be negative 8 minus 1, which is negative 9. All right, now let's find a sub 9. So that means I'm plugging in 9. So I have negative 4 times 9 minus 1, negative 36 minus 1, negative 37. So now I have everything I need. I come over here to my formula. My number of terms, remember I'm looking at 9 and 2. So 9 minus 2 is 7, but I have to add one more to get the number of terms. So my number of terms is 8. The first one is negative 9. The last one is negative 37. And that's going to be negative 46. And then that will equal times 4, negative 184. And I'm done. So in order to use the sum of an arithmetic series formula, I have to first find my first term and my last term. And then I can just use my formula. All right. So now this looks different, right? If you look at the previous one, we had some n times a number, and then we were either adding or subtracting something, right? Like in this one, n times a number, and we're adding 4.